The Monsters of the may have drafted the best young wide receiver quarterback combo in the NFL. We'll soon find out. The Chicago Cubs swept away the Houston Astros. The White Sox, LeBron James and crew are one game away from being swept from the NBA playoffs for the second year in a row. The New York Knicks, they dropped one in Philadelphia. That and a whole lot more as the Friday edition of Second City Sports starts right now. Welcome to another Friday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago, along with Miss Lakeem McGee, which is she. I am Cindy Brownhead, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my Katie McGee on the Twitter, X, and IG.
Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinions from the world of sports during our 2-hour extravaganza, we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. You can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Look in and we'll get them up on the screen for you. But you decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I've again Lakina full powers to give you fools to be and be a boot.
Toodles.
But before we begin, we must remind you can catch Sports Zone Chicago right now, live in the living color on Roku TV. That's right. So celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. If you already have a Roku television, just tap on that sports folder and download that Sports Zone Chicago app. If you don't have a Roku television, but you have some handheld devices laying around, iPhone, iPad, iTouch, your Chromebook, or your PC, or your Android, just hit up the Google Play Store, download the Roku TV app, and access Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. So, no more excuses. Celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, live and on demand.
Anytime, anywhere.
And you know we will provide.
And we will be providing you with the best here on Second City Sports in the last Friday in April. We'll talk some playoffs, some very interesting things happening in both the Stanley Cup and NBA playoffs. Of course, we got our buddy Herb Howard to help us recap the first round of the NFL draft, which took place last night in Detroit. And our girl Christine Mack from KXRB is returned to talk, pretty much everything. I know she got if you saw her Twitter earlier, I'll let her explain it when she comes on. Her colleagues are giving her a hard time, but we'll let her explain all that when she comes on in a little bit. But first, Sid, let's get right to it. Let's talk about the first round of the draft. The Bears first, of course. And of course, the Bears, they got their QB after months and months of weirdness and speculation, blah, blah, blah. They did pick Caleb Williams, 2022 Heisman Trophy winner at number 1. He's the only player in FBS history to account for 120 plus TDs while having fewer than 20 turnovers in his entire career. They picked him at 1. And probably with a little bit of surprise, we'll get to some of the weirdness in a second. But they also drafted Odunze from Washington. He led the FBS with 105 burns, which means winning a matchup against a defender on a play, which he's targeted. The two of them, of course, they met up at the airport and, this and that. And, then, of course, now they're teammates. People are already saying, this is the best wide receiving core in the NFL and blah, blah, blah. All right, folks. just for the record, I mean, I've seen this movie before. There's different variations. I went through this with Color and Marshall. I went through this with some of the other various quarterback combos. Yes, you've got DJ Moore and Keenan Allen and all those guys. But for me, you still got a rookie quarterback. There's going to be growing pains. People are saying, "Oh, Bears too." Okay, can we please wait till they get on the field first before we start making any proclamations? Sid, what did you think of it?
Did you have the same cup of coffee that I had this morning?
Oh my God, that'd be creepy if we did.
I don't even drink coffee. Break the coffee to make you feel better. But I'm not surprised because we expected the Bears to do exactly what they did last night and selected Caleb Williams out of USC. We've known that story ever since the Bears season ended in Green Bay and back in January. And of course, that Justin Fields trade to Pittsburgh a month ago confirmed that. But I was preparing myself to expect any and everything with that number 9 selection, from trading up to trading down, or selected Malik Neighbors, who went to New York Giants, or selected Odunze, like you said, from the University of Washington. Remember, we started talking about him in the last month of the season leading up to the college football playoff. I said he wouldn't be a bad selection for the Bears. Of course, I was on the Marvin Harrison Jr. train since last summer. Of course, the way that Arizona finished their season, it was pretty much likely the Bears weren't going to get him. But with that being said, I'll echo your thoughts that the Bears fans, should you be excited? Yes. But, yes, there's a but to this. Nothing is guaranteed. Just ask my Chicago White Sox. We're still waiting on that World Series parade, Rick Hahn. And ask the Chicago Bulls, Arturas Carter-Shovers. We're still waiting to get into the playoffs to get out the first round. But I digress. But looking up and down the roster, the Bears have the best young talent in the league. And yes, I've been saying for this whole offseason, Lakina, you know this as well as our listeners and viewers that have been following us. If the Bears and GM Ryan Poles make the right moves, this will be a playoff team. Does this look like a playoff team from the outside looking in? Yes. But like Lakina said, we still have to wait to get on the field. And yes, there's a little thing called injuries, and Ryan Poles addressed that in his presser last night with the media. We'll talk about that with Herb Howard in our next hour. But be excited, yes, but things, especially in the NFL, doesn't happen overnight. This does take time. So I would just caution Bears fans with that. You can still be excited, but it's about the long run and not a short-term fix. And like Ryan Poles said, too, during his offseason, he's trying to change the way that this Bears franchise does business. So far, he is doing that. Will his fruits of his labor finally pay off? We'll wait and see.
This is SecondCity Sports on Sports in Chicago. Lakina McGee, Cindy Brown with you. And yeah, I mean, look, to echo what you just said, Sid. I mean, you still need a pass rusher. You don't know who's gonna hike Caleb Williams the ball. You're gonna have that extra. You need more O-line depth. I mean, you only got 2 more picks now, I should say. So now you're gonna have to address all that. And yeah, I mean, look, on paper, if games were meant to be played on paper, there'd be a whole different Super Bowl winners than we've been seeing the last decade, especially. So let's not get to the point where let's beat Green Bay first. Win your division first before you talk about going to the NFC title game, going to the Super Bowl, whatever. Because I'm seeing some Bears fans but I digress. We've seen this movie before, so like I said, they don't pick again until round 4. Round 4. So I'm not gonna pick tonight. So it'll be we'll ask Herb this when he comes on, but it's going to be interesting to see what the Bears do with that pick. Do they try to maybe get a haul, trade one of those picks, and maybe get a couple extra picks? So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, look, you did what you're supposed to. It kind of fell into your lap, the 9th pick, especially with Odunze being available. We'll get to that in a second. But all right. Now show it on the field. That's all I want to know. Just show it on the field, and then maybe we'll talk.
All right, let's discuss the other first-round selections that took place last night in Detroit. Of course, Jim Harbaugh made his first pick as the head coach of Los Angeles Chargers. He selected offensive tackle Joe Alt from Notre Dame. I know some Bears fans on Twitter X thought that Ryan Poles should trade that number 9 pick to move up to get Alt. Now, Alt is the member of the Los Angeles Chargers. Of course, at number 6, Malik Neighbors, as I mentioned earlier, the wide receiver, the star wide receiver out of LSU. He goes to the New York Giants. Lakina, at number 8, the Atlanta Falcons selected quarterback Michael Penix Jr. out of Washington. Of course, Washington lost in the college football playoff. There have been reports over the last 24 to 48 hours that Kirk Cousins' Achilles injury has not progressed as the Atlanta Falcons organization might have hoped, and that's why they made the selection. What do you think about all this? Because reading through the stuff last night on social media, this pick had everybody in a rage. I'm just putting it kindly.
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely a head scratcher. You pick, Penix Jr. I mean, look, he's been great at Washington the last couple years he was there, but it just seems, like they could have waited. I mean, they pick I think like eight or nine. They pick in the top 10 in the second round coming up later on tonight. I'm sure he still would have been there. So to waste, I don't want to say you waste a eighth pick, but you're like, really? Y'all could have waited till the second round. But all right, I digress. But look, this could be one of those picks where look, the brass in Atlanta looks like geniuses, or they may end up looking stupid. So we'll have to wait and see. They're already talking about having him there for 4 or 5 years. But I'm like, wait a minute, he'll be 24 next month. So okay, whatever. But, yeah, definitely a head scratcher there.
Yeah, and number 10, the Minnesota Vikings selected J.J. McCarthy, the quarterback out of Michigan. Unlike Will Levis a year ago, J.J. McCarthy's hype train gets him a first-round selection, so congratulations to him. Number 12, the Denver Broncos selected rookie quarterback Bo Nix out of Oregon, so Sean Payton is going to have a new toy to work with on the quarterback position. But this move had my head scratching as well. Number 13, the Las Vegas Raiders selected tight end Brock Bowers out of Georgia, but who's going to be throwing him the ball?
Yeah, they got a good core with him and of course Devontae Adams. And yeah, I mean that's the thing here, like because they don't have really have a QB on the roster right now. So that's another pick that's kind of a little bit of a head scratcher. But look, I think Antonio Pierce would love to have that big, we know he loves working with big, tough, tight end. So you got a good one there. And with Bowers, Alubada from Nanu at from Penn State goes to the Jets. The Jets really need O-line help, and they've addressed that this offseason. They get an all Big Ten tackle. Did you see his mom was basically kind of like giving his girlfriend kind of like the Heisman. It was just that was kind of funny, but yeah, I mean that was a really good pick. I know another one, Latu from UCLA. I know our buddy Randy Cross is also a UCLA grad. Absolutely loved him. So they got the edge rusher. They got a good one there in Indy. Dallas Tucker, who we talked about with our buddy, our new friend, WGN TV's Chris Bone. I know he really liked Dallas Turner from Alabama. He ends up going to Minnesota. So Minnesota actually had a nice first round of the draft as well. Some of the others here of no, we won't go through all because we don't have time, but we'll go through some of the Jordan Morgan, O-line tackle from Arizona. I know some people really, I know some Pirates fans were kind of like, really? But, you need that extra O-line help to protect Jordan Love. So, this might actually be a good one. The Chiefs actually traded up, to get Xavier Worthy from Texas. Of course, he broke the 40-time record at the Combine. And, of course, speed, I guess, is the key here. For Brett Veach and Andy Reid, who just signed new contracts. So you get a speedy wide receiver there. Nate Wiggins, the corner for Clemson All ACC. They can always use an extra secondary help over there in Baltimore. So they get a nice there. Xavier Pearsall, who actually was a teammate of Brandon Ayuk's when they were at Arizona State. Of course, he went to Florida, had a couple of big time catches there. So I think it's a nice pick for San Francisco. So I don't know if this means that they may trade Deebo Samuel or Ayuk, but this might be a little way to kind of like beef up that room for Brock Purdy.
Yeah, I think this may be a trade for Brandon Ayuk, but we'll see what happens there. Just a couple more first-round picks of note. At number 21, the Miami Dolphins selected edge rusher Chop Robinson from Penn State. I think that's a great move for the Dolphins. And at number 22, the Philadelphia Eagles selected Quentin Mitchell, the defensive back out of Toledo. We talked about that Philadelphia secondary. Lakina stinking it up, especially during the second half of last year when the Philadelphia started to slide, and of course with all the entries on the other side of the ball. But I think this was a very good move for Philadelphia picking up Mr. Mitchell.
Yeah, first team All MAC, Mr. Mitchell was. So yeah, they really need because that secondary was just like you started to see some of the holes there. So any other like big surprises or big things real quick before we go to break?
Not too much. I was going to address the Xavier Worthy pick, but you pretty much summed it up there. Maybe I know I forgot one of those the rookie wide receiver that got caught up in that his car got caught up in a crash in Dallas. So maybe that's a protection for that player that may be in trouble. His name escapes me right now, but we'll see what happens with that. But other than that, not too much of a surprise in the first round. If it wasn't for the Bears, I think Minnesota had a good night as far as their two first round selections.
Yeah, I think they really did. I think those were some really good players that they got. I think Seattle, new regime there. Brian Murphy from Texas. That's a nice little defensive tackle there. So yeah, I really like it. Like I said, we'll talk more about this stuff with our buddy Herb Power from the Bigs coming up at the top. But we're gonna take a really quick break. Of course, we're gonna do a lot of stuff rapid fire, folks. If you get a little bit of whiplash, we apologize. So we're gonna talk some baseball, some NBA and NHL playoffs coming up next. Lakina McGee, Cindy Brown, Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. Round Buck and the Ice. Right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, the Friday Fun Friday edition. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80, that's SIDKID80, SIDKID80.
You find my Keita Mickey on the Twitter, X going into IG.
We have less than 85 minutes left or so in this fabulous programming called the Sports Talk Radio Show. Excuse me. If you have any questions or comments for us as we talk NBA playoffs, baseball, and Stanley Cup, you can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, Sid. You can start off where we go to first.
The NBA playoffs will go backwards. Review the 3 games from last night. Of course, the defending champion Denver Nuggets defeated the Los Angeles Lakers by 7, 112 to 105 to take a commanding 3-0 lead in the series. There's the same script, same ending, except for the ending. Lakina, Game 2, the Lakers had a strong start to the game. They came out strong, but the Denver Nuggets had something for the Lakers in that second half last night. And Nikola Jokic took the game over in that third quarter. Michael Porter Jr. had some big baskets in that fourth quarter to basically put that game away. Lakina, Anthony Davis had a strong start just like in Game 2, and LeBron James as well. But if you're the Lakers, can you even get a game in this series? And I think after Game 2, I think that loss demoralized the Lakers. They did come out on fire again last night, but it's just something about the fourth quarter in these 3 games in this series that is just a mental block. It's just a failure execution. I don't know, but it's the fourth quarter that the Lakers cannot get over and beat this Denver Nuggets team. Now I believe it's 11 straight losses, I believe, for the Lakers now against the Nuggets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
where you go from here?
Yeah, I mean, they should be up either. They should be either down 2-1 or up 2-1 because that's just how it is. I mean, they were up big in the first game. They went to also. Then it went up. They were up in Game 2, and of course, Aaron Murray. That's what they're calling that shot now. Came back and shot that 3-pointer in the other day there. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what they're do here because you got people those Laker fans are blaming Darvin Ham, and of course you saw Anthony Davis's comments basically saying what the hell is going on here. And LeBron, I'm sure he's trying to be as as cordial as he can, but it's just unfortunate that that this is kind of like how the Lakers season ends. We know that last night, of course, Aaron Gordon probably had his best showing of the last few years, and it's going to be interesting to see. I know that I think a lot of this is also too the Nuggets are a machine. They can come back being down. It doesn't really mean anything, but at the same time though, you're like, Lakers should have executed more. Where was the defense? Where was, everything else that kind of got it going here? So I kind of feel like, this is kind of like one of those days where it's just like, if you're the Lakers, you're definitely scratching your heads like, how the hell did we get here?
Yeah, and the Nuggets just I'll mention the Lakers right now in every phase of the game. It seems like the Lakers have to play a perfect game just to beat them. Game 2 was their best shot, and like you said, Jamal Murray shot at the end over Anthony Davis back in Denver on Tuesday. Was the nail in the coffin last night. I think the Lakers, I'm not going to say they waved in the white towel, but I just got a sense at the end of that game they were taking a lot of bad 3-point shots. It's like, okay, if it goes in, it goes in, but they kind of waved the white flag. We'll see you on Saturday. You just don't like that type of attitude in a team, especially in the playoff situation. If you have that self-defeatist attitude and you don't have any fight left, you shouldn't be playing. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, you wonder though, can the Lakers try to muster up, a chance to go on at tomorrow night? So we'll see what happens there. Now another game that some serious cutting, as you can say. Shout out to our buddy Spiro Adidas who had the call of this game for Turner. The Sixers hold off the Knicks 125-114, 50 points for Joel Embiid. That's the most that an opponent has scored against the Knicks. You got going back to Michael Jordan that did it back in the late 90s, I should say. And he's doing all this with basically on one leg, and also it's come out that he now is battling Bell's palsy, which is sort of, for those folks who don't know, it's kind of like your facial muscles kind of get tense, and it kind of you kind of have that facial paralysis. It's not like fatal or anything like that, but it can be a bit of a pain in the butt. So the fact that he's going through all this and still been able to play the way he's been playing is not sure remarkable.
Yeah, props out to him for battling these injuries, and because as we say all the time, athletes are not machines; they're human beings, so they go through a whole lot more stuff, but on and off the field, than we'll ever know. But like you said, props to Joel Embiid for battling that. But Tyrese Maxey stepped up big last night. He had another good game. Lakina, I talked about in this series what was going to be the key: rebounding. The Knicks had the edge over Philadelphia in rebounding in the first two games, especially in game one with a plus 22 rebounding advantage. Well, the Philadelphia 76ers flipped it on its head last night, 36-32 in the rebound department. I thought that was one of the big keys for their victory for Philadelphia. And their shooting was high too, 54% overall, over 48% for three-point range. Did you check out the dunk by Dante DiVincenzo toward the end of that first half?
I did.
Over Tyrese Maxey. That was sweet. And I don't know about you, Lakina. I know New York and Philadelphia are close in proximity, but it seemed like to me there was a lot more Knicks fans than Philadelphia fans in their stadium last night.
Yeah, it's sort of one of those things where you're kind of like you thought that was a Knicks home game in Philadelphia, but I digress. But yeah, I mean, look, Philly needed this win. You can probably say they should be up 2-1, but at least you kind of into that league. You know, you play again tomorrow, and hopefully you can kind of try to see if you can even the series. So it should be interesting to see. Well, actually, they'll play it again until Sunday, but yeah, even still. They're you got a couple of days to kind of recover. Hopefully, and B can try to recover from some of his ailments, and hopefully they can kind of get it back going and perhaps even the series.
Real quick, Lakina, back to game two. Philadelphia was up 5 with less than 40 seconds to go. Tyrese Maxey grabs the rebound. I think the Knicks were trying to force a foul or time up for a jump ball. Neither infraction was called. Of course, the Knicks got it back, hit a couple 3-pointers, and won the game. And the NBA came out at the end and said that it should have been a foul called on the Knicks for fouling Tyrese Maxey. Did you agree with the NBA's assessment, and should a foul been called toward the end of game two?
I think it should have been, but again, like it's kind of redundant because look, the game already has been played. That doesn't really help the Sixers. So what's the point in you saying this now? So I'm not a fan when they do that, but yeah, like I said, the Sixers should be up 2-1, but it is what it is. And hopefully, like I say, come back on Sunday and try to even the series.
Okay, and the last game that took place last night in Orlando, Florida, the first time the Magic hosted a home playoff game since 2019, where they lost to the eventual world champion Toronto Raptors. The Orlando Magic get back into their first round series against the Cleveland Cavaliers, defeating the Cavs at home 121-83. Now the Orlando Magic trail in that best of 7 series 2-1. Orlando shot the ball very well overall, 51% clip, 35% from 3. Jalen Suggs had a great game last night. He had a dunk-a-thon to his arsenal. He had like 3 great dunks. Pablo Banchero was the man again. And in the rebounding department, Orlando had a plus 19 edge at 51-32.
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, they needed this win and they got it, and boy, was it convincing. So, I mean, look, if you're Orlando, you're probably thinking, okay, you know what, you kind of got to get your drugs in a row and kind of get your feet, comfortable. Because for a lot of these guys, they're first experience in the playoffs, so they're kind of figuring out how things work. So, look, they play again tomorrow, and we'll see if we'll see if they can even their series.
All right, and the couple of games that took place on Wednesday, the Miami Heat steal Game 2 from Boston, defeating the Celtics on their home floor, 111-101. Now that series is tied up at a game apiece. Tyler Hero had a great performance for the Miami Heat. And in the first round series in the Western Conference in Game 2, the Oklahoma City Thunder, they blow out the New Orleans Pelicans 124-92.
Yeah, I think the Thunder kind of sending the message that, hey, look, you know what, we're fine with being the 1 seed, so let's get it, let's get things going here. And same thing with the other game you just mentioned. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see if they can kind of bounce back there. But yeah, this weekend the playoffs is going to be very interesting. And speaking of this weekend. Coming up tonight, you got Game 3 of Indiana and Milwaukee series. The first game, early start here, 4:30 on ESPN as part of their triple header. Also, to another series that's tied, down in Dallas, you got the Clippers and the Mavs. That's going to be right after that Bucks Pacers game. The Clippers need to show up from 3-point range. Just saying, you can't let the Mavs hang around, so we'll see.
Yeah, Luka had a monster game too. He says he's that dude. I'm just keeping it clean.
Well, yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. But yeah, that's going to be the second game of that triple header. Last game, we got Minnesota and Phoenix. Does Phoenix have a shot to perhaps maybe try to cut into this series? I don't know.
How you stop Anthony Edwards? He's just been he's not I was gonna say he's not human. He's not a machine, but he's not human either. How are you gonna stop that guy? But that's something that Phoenix needs to figure out. It's not my problem, thank goodness. Here's your schedule for Saturday. The 3 of the 4 games will be on TNT, a part of their triple header tomorrow. Game 4 of the Orlando Cleveland series will take place at high noon from Orlando, followed by Oklahoma City at New Orleans. That's at 2:30. That's game 3 of that Western Conference first round series. At 5 o'clock on TNT tomorrow, the Celtics and the Heat will move down to South Beach, Florida. That's at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. That's game 3 of the Heat Celtics series. And of course, in prime time, Saturday night on ABC, game 4 between the Lakers and the Denver Nuggets from Los Angeles. That's at 7:30 p.m. Chicago time. That's game 4 of that first round series.
We'll see if that loss to the Heat a couple of days ago gives Boston a wake-up call. It's going to be interesting, that the pivotal game 3. And on Sunday, 2 of these games are on ABC. The first game will be the Knicks and the Sixers. Like I said, the Sixers hoping to kind of cut it and tie the series. Of course, we'll see where the Clippers and Mavs, we'll see where that series is by then. And on TNT, you got the doubleheader there. You got Milwaukee and Indiana. Again, we'll see where that goes there. And we'll see if the Suns are trying to tie the series, or will the Bucks be clinching the series. So we'll see what happens on Sunday. That's going to be the last 2 games are on TNT.
Yeah, and that's your schedule for the NBA playoffs this weekend. Lakina, real quick on that Bucks-Pacers series. I don't know if you saw this at the end of game 2, but Chris Middleton got hurt. I don't know if he's going to play today. And Damian Lillard, I thought he looked a little gimpy too, so let's be on the lookout for that. But I don't know about you, but the Indiana Pacers, we talked about this on our show on Monday. They played scared and they didn't shoot the ball very well. That team played with confidence, and it was so scary. They was making it seemed like they were making every shot from 3-point range. And Pascal Siakam, and it was nice to see Tyrese Halliburton getting back into form. I know he's been battling that hamstring for the last month or so of the season, but it was nice to see Tyrese Halliburton help out Pascal Siakam in game 2.
It'll be interesting to see the Pacers take advantage of the Bucks really not being 100% because Giannis isn't playing tomorrow. They've already said he's going to be out. So if you're the Pacers, you need to pounce. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. Now, quickly as we get listen to SecondCity Sports on Sports on Chicago, Lakina McGee, Cindy Brown with you. Real quick, we'll do that hockey and some interesting series coming up here. The Rangers are up 2-0 against the Capitals. The Hurricanes are up 3-0 against the Islanders, and the Jets and the Avs are tied at 1 as we're going to they're in Denver right now, and Edmonton and the Kings are up 1, and that's some of the other series coming up. So real quick, what's your synopsis here with the NHL playoffs?
Congrats to the LA Kings for winning game 2 after laying down in game 1. So that was nice to see there. Of course, the 2 results from last night, as you mentioned, the Carolina Hurricanes, they beat the New York Islanders in Staten, Long Island 3-2 to take a commanding 3-0 lead in that series. So that's not surprising there. Well, surprising here, and I picked this team to perhaps make it back to the Stanley Cup Final, the Florida Panthers. They're up 3-0 in their first round series against Tampa Bay. 5-3 was your final in game 3 last night. It was a heck of a game 2 the other night, Lakina, with Florida scoring their overtime goal. But I know the Lightning, they're getting some of their core, like Steven Stamkos and Valesky, their goalie, getting up there in age, but I ain't expect them to go out like this. I know the series technically is not over, but I ain't expect them to trail 3-0 in this series.
Yeah, that was I mean, give the Panthers credit for coming in and coming back and winning that game. So yeah, I was a little surprised by that, but I mean, the Panthers, that's what they do. That's what champions do. So we'll see if they can wrap it up tomorrow. So yeah, anything else surprising real quick? The Vegas without them, because a lot of those guys are coming back. Got Jack Eichel, he's coming back. So, he's already making a big, statement there against Dallas. They still the 2 games down there. So
what's wrong with the Stars?
Yeah. So lots of growing pains down there in Dallas.
Yeah, and the Boston Bruins from Wednesday night, they beat the Toronto Maple Leafs in that Eastern Conference first round series in Game 3, 4-2 to take a 2-1 series lead. I don't think that's too surprising there. I think that series is going to go the full 7. As I mentioned earlier, the Kings beat the Edmonton Oilers in overtime on the road in Game 2, 5-4. So your schedule, looks like this for tonight. On TNT is the Rangers and Capitals, Game 3 of that series. Of course, the Rangers lead 2-0 in that series. The Canucks and Predators will resume action tonight from Nashville. That's at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on TBS. That series is tied up at 1 game apiece. At 9 o'clock on TNT, we'll have the Winnipeg Jets and the Colorado Avalanche, Game 3 from Denver. That series is tied up at a game apiece. That's at 9 o'clock on TNT. And at 9:30 on TBS, the Los Angeles Kings in the Edmonton Oilers will do battle from La La Land. That's at 9:30, and that series is tied up at a game apiece.
3 pivotal Game 3s coming up tonight, so we'll see how this goes. And of course, I'm sure the Rangers, they're going to try to wrap up that Capital series pretty quick. So we'll see if they do just that. Now, tomorrow, Saturday, Carolina, hoping to wrap things up, like I said, in Long Island against the Islanders. If you're Rob Brindamore is going to want his guys to wrap that up quick, so we'll see if they can do it tomorrow. Panthers and Lightning, the Panthers can also wrap it up. Those games are going to be on TBS at 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock respectively. Boston and Toronto, we'll see if Toronto can tie things up. That'll also be on TBS. And a quadruple header on TBS, if you will. Then that last game of that triple header, Dallas, we'll see if they can steal a game over in Vegas at 9:30.
Yeah, here's your schedule for Sunday. Winnipeg at Colorado in Game 4 of that series. That's at 1:30 on TNT. At 4 o'clock on Sunday on TBS, we have Vancouver at Nashville, Game 4 of that series. At 7 o'clock on TBS, we have the Rangers and the Washington Capitals. And at 9:30 on TBS, we'll have Edmonton at Los Angeles, Game 4 of that first round series. So that's your schedule for the Stanley Cup playoffs this weekend.
This is XC Sports on Chicago. Lakeem McGee, Sidney Brown, with you. Now let's go to the Diamond real quick, Sid. The Cubs, even though they lose Cody Bellinger to a couple of cracked ribs, they do what they're supposed to, take care of business. They do sweep the Astros, so nice sweep there, taking care of business there. Sox, on the other hand, they get swept by the Twins.
I'll leave the Sox alone. Starting with the Chicago Cubs, you do what you're supposed to do and sweep an inferior team in the Houston Astros, beating that team 3 games to none in the series at home. Look, we talked about the Cubs battling injuries all year long to start out the season. Maybe Seiya Suzuki and Justin Steele will be back sooner rather than later. They need those guys right now. But you mentioned with the Cody Bellinger injury, guess who stepped up yesterday? Rookie outfielder Pete Crow Armstrong with that 2-run home run in the 7th inning there to break the game open for Chicago. And on the flip side for Houston, their whole starting rotation is on the injury list right now, and the Cubs took advantage of that. They busted out with scoring, I believe, 7 runs in that series opener on Tuesday. They barely did enough on Wednesday. I know Hector Neris, the former Houston Astros pitcher, he closed it out on Wednesday. And of course, the Cubs, I'm not going to say they didn't play small ball, but they hung in there long enough to defeat Justin Verlander and crew to take the series sweep.
Yeah, that was a really nice nice showing there by them. And look, Michael Busch had a nice series too as well for the Cubs. So I think you did what you're supposed to do. Yeah, you're dealing with injuries right now, but you know what? It's okay. Look, you can you take care of business against the Astros. They're not very good at the moment. So look, you do the sweep. You got a tough series coming up this weekend. So take care of business. You'll gain a game or 2 in the Central, and you take care of business there. So since we're not going to talk about the White, what's they say?
Yeah, I was going to say real quick, let's give a shout out to Dansby Swanson. It looks like he's finally starting to bust out with his bat. He had a 3-run home run early in that series in the first 2 games of that series against the Houston Astros. So hopefully he's finally starting to come out his offensive funk. I know the defense hasn't been there to start the year, but looks like his bat hopefully is starting to come around.
Yeah.
Because they desperately need it.
Yeah, desperately need that, especially with all the injuries going on right now. So Swanson with a nice series there now. As a whole, what impressed you so far this week in MLB?
The Oakland Athletics, they had a couple of chances to steal a couple of games from Yankee Stadium, but they did it last night, defeating the Yankees 2-1. Nestor Cortez for the New York Yankees. He's pitched well in his last two starts, but he came up on the short end of the stick once again. So the Yankees take 3 out of 4 from Oakland. Of course, the Phillies take care of the Reds, winning 2 out of 3. Ellie De La Cruz on the flip side for Cincinnati. He's just an amazing athlete. I got a chance to watch him a couple weeks ago in Chicago. He didn't do too much, but he's still an amazing player. Kansas City, they won a short 2-1 game because of rain last night against the Toronto Blue Jays. So we'll see what happens with this series coming up again tonight. The Mets defeated the San Francisco Giants to win the series finale in that one. Of course, the Cardinals take care of the Diamondbacks. And the Baltimore Orioles win the series out there in La La Land against the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. And, of course, the Los Angeles Dodgers, they take care of the Washington Nationals, sweeping them in our nation's capital.
Yeah, that was definitely, like I said, just with Dr. Order, because they really needed that sweep after what happened in the last week. So nice showing there. Baltimore with a nice showing, winning 2 out of like you said, so win 2 out of 3 against the Angels. That was very impressive this week. Look, I mean, it was a tough series. The Angels made them earn every run, but they took care of business there. Detroit, not a good showing by them. They didn't have a good week. Like I said, they did win 2 out of 3 against the Rays, so that should help them a little bit. Give them their boost of confidence. They're now 14-11 as of this recording in the AL Central. So nice showing there for Detroit. That's about it. I mean, in the East, in NL East, I mean, it looks like it is going to be like as we thought. It's going to be a fight between the Braves and the Phillies. I mean, both of them had solid weeks this week. So yeah, it should be like I said, it's not gonna they're not gonna run away from that division. I know they did split their series with the Red Sox, about the Phillies did. So that's interesting. Well, but you know what? They're still right there with Atlanta, and they're not running away from it.
Yeah, as we said before, the NL East should be a dogfight, and if the Mets decide to hang around, it could be a 4-team race, but we'll see what happens with that. Your Seattle Mariners, Lakina, they take 2 out of 3 at Texas against the defending world champs.
I'll take it. Yeah, really. So look, Julio Rodriguez had a very nice series down there. And that's not an easy place to play. So the fact that they won 2 out of 3 against, you're not only the defending champs, but your rivals in the AL West. I mean, you gotta be feeling pretty good for the Mariners right now.
And I picked them to win the AL West, so we'll see what happens. We still have a long way to go. Your schedule for this weekend in MLB looks like this. The Tampa Bay Rays will visit the South Side to take on the White Sox. Nope, the first game tonight is at 6:40 p.m. Central Standard Time. That's on Apple TV Plus.
Thank goodness.
I will not be breaking the bank for that one. I'll leave it at that. Of course, Kansas City will visit Detroit. Game 1 is going on right now. The Royals lead 1-0 the first game of that series. Other games as of note this weekend: Oakland will visit Baltimore. The Dodgers will face the Blue Jays. The Cubs will take on the Boston Red Sox at Fenway Park. St. Louis will visit New York to take on the Mets. Washington will visit Miami. Cleveland, which did very well this week against Boston, they'll visit Atlanta in a good interleague series there. Cincinnati will visit Texas. The Yankees will visit Milwaukee, 90 miles north of us at Miller Park. Yeah, I said Miller Park. Minnesota will go to La La Land to take on the Angels. Arizona will visit Lakina Seattle Mariners. Philadelphia will visit San Diego. And the Pittsburgh Pirates will play the the San Francisco Giants. I got football on my mind, folks.
It's okay. Don't worry, it happens. Now, note though, the first game of the St. Louis, excuse me. Ooh, boy, I can't talk for a second. That St. Louis Mets series will be on Apple TV Plus prior to the Ray Sox game. So, special note to all of you guys down there, over there in Long Island and St. Louis. Also, to the Fox Saturday game of the week returns as Cincy and Texas. That'll be on Fox at 3:00. Also to the Cardinals and the Mets, also on Fox as well. The doubleheader there, of course. I'm sure the latter will be shown here in Chicago. And also the Arizona, the Diamondbacks Mariners second game of that series will be on FS1 at 8:40 tomorrow night. And your Sunday night, they got two Sunday games of the week there, of course, with the NBA going on right now. You got the Astros and the Rockies at the 3:05, and the second game of that Sunday night baseball doubleheader on ESPN. You got the Cubs and the Red Sox.
Yes, and the Astros Rockies, that game on Sunday. Note is the MLB World Tour Series, that game between the Astros and Rockies will take place in Mexico City.
Which should be a little bit fun down there. Down there, the place is going to be rocking down there in Mexico. I believe that's one of the Mexican leagues they play in that stadium. So that place is going to be rocking there. So that just goes for this weekend in MLB.
Stay tuned for more sports and more fun as Second City Sports, the Friday edition, continues with Herb Howard and Miss Christine the Queen Manika. You're listening to Sports Zone Chicago.
No, I don't know though. I'm scared. I mean, you're so
Do you know that you're in my lane?
No, not at all.
Are you not paying attention? Are you texting?
I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6.
It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention.
I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up.
My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention.
It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Move it!
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to album number 2 of Second City Sports, the Friday Fun Friday edition. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakina G, which is she. I am Sydney Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at CK80. Once again, it's CK80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Keena McGee on the Twitter, X, and Keena Squirmy on the IG.
We have less than an hour left of this extravaganza we call a sports talk radio show. If you have any questions or comments, especially for our next guest coming up in a couple of minutes, you can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments to the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. And just a daily reminder, you can catch Sports Zone Chicago live in living color right now on Roku TV.
All right, since we're waiting on Herb, let's talk about some of the players that have not been drafted yet that are still available. Cooper DeJean, who is the tight end for Iowa. I know there were some fans of the quarterback, I should say, from Iowa. He was all second team All Big Ten, and there are some people that said they were actually. I know there was some Packers fans that were hoping that they would get him yesterday, but we'll be interested to see where he goes. Jarzon Newton, I should say, from Illinois. He was one of the bright spots of the Illinois squad. He's a D tackle, so we'll see where he goes. Kool-Aid McKinstry, who knows that's his real name, folks. I swear. He's a quarterback.
Yeah, I saw that name the other day. Yes, this is facts, folks. This is facts.
Yes, that is his real name. He's a corner for Alabama, I should say. And it's gonna be interesting to see where he goes. There are a lot of teams that would love to have a corner. He's probably one of the fastest corners out there. And a couple other ones. Keon Cohen for Florida State. That's another name that's being floated around. He's a wide receiver. There's another name that's still out there. Jonathan Brooks from Texas, running back. So he could be a steal for somebody there. So any other names that kind of that are still out there that kind of like, this should be interesting. Should be
I want to ask you who's the available pass rushers, because we all know that the Bears need one to go opposite of Montez Sweat, who you traded for last year, and you re-signed it to a contract extension immediately after that. Who are some of the pass rushers that are remaining out there?
I know Chris Broswell from Alabama. I know he's an edge rusher that's still out there.
Okay.
He could probably be a pick for somebody. Trying to see if there are any other edge rushers that are still.
Do you think he'll fall that far to the 4th round? Because that's the next Bears draft pick.
Yeah, I don't think. I know Jalix Hunt from Houston, tiny D3 Houston Christian College. He's another edge rusher that's been going up the boards a little bit. Maybe I don't know if he'll still be around by the 4th round, but I don't know. But those are really like the only two. Jonah Ellis from Utah. I've heard the name before. He was one of the Utah's top defensive guys. So that's another edge rusher, but he's a little bit smaller. So I don't know if that's a route that Ryan Poles goes. But yeah, I mean, the Bears do still need an edge rusher. So we'll see. I mean, we'll see if they trade up and get some more picks. But yeah, you're not going to be hearing the Bears tonight, folks. So sorry.
Well, I wouldn't be so sure. Like you said, Ryan Poles could trade up to get into that 2nd or 3rd round. Maybe. Fingers crossed if you're a Bears fan. But we all know that the Bears need another pass rusher, as I mentioned. Also, they need another offensive lineman because, depth has been the main thing for this Bears organization over the last couple of years. And here's the thing, Lakina. You get lean and you get fast, and you set your foundation on the offensive and defensive lines. And the Bears have done that up to this point, especially on the the defensive side of the ball. I got your disease today. We can't talk even though it's Friday. But, you set your foundation by having a great offensive line and a great defensive line. The Bears, in my opinion, they're another pass rusher array for really setting this thing right on that side of the ball. On the offensive side of the ball, as I mentioned, I trust in Les and Braxton Jones. It looks like he's still going to be here. I love Tevin Jenkins. And, of course, Darnell Wright, who was the first-round selection at pick number 9 last year. He had a great rookie season. That guy is a bulldozer, and I like what I saw from him. But it doesn't hurt to shore up that offensive line with one of those 2 selections coming up tomorrow.
Yeah, the extra depth is going to be a thing here, especially from the O-line. So, yeah, I know you got some decent. You made some decent moves, bring on some veteran guys, but like it's been said, I mean, you got a new OC, you got basically a new, everything. So on the offensive front, so it's going to be interesting to see how the Bears, respond to try to maybe get that, because you need to beef up that depth there in the O line, especially in the center position. So still a lot of building for the Bears. So yeah, they made some nice little strides. But yeah, you still need an edge rusher. You need someone to protect Caleb Williams, and that's not too. I mean, I kind of feel like I'm seeing. We talked about it earlier. Said all these Bears fans making proclamations, and now they're starting to kind of get into it as well. And I'm just like, let's wait until we start actually, get things going here. So before we start making any kind of like little moves here. So look, Poles has been really good so far, but we gotta see these guys produce. So we'll see.
Yep. The wide receiver room, at least looking at the depth chart here, is led by DJ Moore, of course, followed by Keenan Allen. Of course, Odunze is going to be a big part of his offense. I like that pick. I don't think you can go Ryan Pauls, rather. Excuse me, went wrong with that. I think that was a perfect selection at number 9. He talked about that in his presser last night, saying that he thought that things would fall in his favor. He was nervous for a while, but he thought that Odunze would fall in his lap at number 9, and that's what happened. Also in that wide receiver room, you still have Tyler Scott, Colin Johnson, and of course, Velus Jones. I think he's definitely on his last legs. I know he's the Bears' main returnman, but I think that Tyler Scott and mostly Velus Jones may be one of those who may be on the way out. I know Tyler Scott was a rookie last year, so maybe he'll have another chance if he can make this team. But I think Velus Jones is really on Matt Eberflus's last nerve here. I don't know if he's going to make the team, but maybe I'm just reading into things a little bit too much here. But that wide receiver room is very crowded. I don't know if all of them is going to make it, especially the last 2 names that I mentioned.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Like I think Paul said that his person that he wants to, have guys there that you don't have to worry about having to pick up extra guys. But also too at the same time, you don't want to, put all your eggs in one basket. So that's another thing that you're gonna have to worry about. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with this, with those 2 picks. So do they trade back perhaps to try to get maybe try to get maybe a little bit of a haul and get those extra picks so if they can get into either the second or the third round. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what he does because it's kind of get to the point where you don't want to have to depend on what if God forbid injuries happen and then you don't have nobody there to kind of help you. Have to get guys off the street like it did a couple of years ago. So let me just see what happens. But yeah, I'm just all right. Let's see how this goes.
You're listening to Second City Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakina here with you. We're waiting on our guest Herb Howard from It's the Bigs. I know he's supposed to be in Hallis Hall right now, so I think he's going to check in with us coming up in a couple of minutes. I want to ask you, with the draft overall, which team or teams has the most pressure to select that impact player as the draft in the second round resumes? Second, and I believe the third rounds resume tonight from Detroit.
Yeah, I say Buffalo because they traded back twice. So they're going to have the first pick in the second round come up tonight. So I'm sure with a lot of, they had to trade a lot of cap space. So you better hope that you get somebody that can kind of, if you get another wide receiver for Josh Allen, or if you get that extra defensive line guy or the O-line guy, they'll have their choices. So I think Buffalo needs to do something here. We'll see if San Fran had a nice pick, late last night, but we'll see if they're gonna put that in the package to perhaps maybe trade, perhaps maybe Brandon Ayuk or even a Deebo Samuel. We'll see if there maybe more trades coming up. Washington, they got Jaden Daniels, so now you got to figure out who's gonna throw to, who's he gonna who's gonna protect him. So that's another thing that Adam Peters and the rest of that group are they have to worry about there as well. Arizona. Like I said, they need a lot of help in the O-line front. You got your wide receiver, Mr. Marvin Harrison Jr., but you're going to need somebody to kind of help protect, Kyler Murray especially. So that's another one. So who do you think is the teams that are kind of pressure on to get that the top marquee player, that'll difference maker?
I think the Dallas Cowboys, because they have a couple of marquee players that they'll do contract extensions soon. One is their quarterback, Dak Prescott, and the other is their wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb, which I think he's going to get his money. But, Dak Prescott, we're not so sure. But the Dallas Cowboys, especially losing Trevor Smith to the New York Jets, the Dallas Cowboys need help on their offensive line. Also, they could use another impact player on defense as well. I know Micah Parsons had a heck of a year last year. He disappeared in that playoff game against the Green Bay Packers. So the Dallas Cowboys, in my opinion, could use another defensive edge rusher on that line. It was the best defense in the league last year in the regular season, but in the playoffs, they got shredded by the Green Bay Packers. But I think the Dallas Cowboys is one of the teams that is under the gun to hit home in this draft. Also, too, let's not forget the Philadelphia Eagles. They need to get some impact players as well, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, real quick, we got our guest with us. I think Rashee Rice, that maybe you were talking about earlier for the Chiefs. They're bringing up Xavier Worthy. Do you get do you have maybe perhaps draft Travis Kelce's successor? Because you got to think he's getting up there now, and he's got 3 Super Bowls, and he's spending time with Taylor Swift. So you wonder, hey, I'm just saying, I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah, if smart organizations do stuff like this, you draft your predecessor before time runs out. This will be the time to do it if you're Kansas City.
All right, we got our guest with us, so we'll give him his thoughts on the Bears selections, also the rest of the first round of the NFL draft. He is one of the guys from the Bigs. He covers the Bears as well. He is the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Herb Howard. Herb, how are you?
Game and Sid, what's going on? How y'all doing?
We're doing great. How about yourself?
I'm excellent. Thanks for having me.
No problem. I guess first off, I mean, when Atlanta decided to pick Penix Jr. and not Odunze, I know you were at Hallis Hall last night. So what was the room there? What was the reaction there when Atlanta decided to go with Penix instead of Odunze?
Yeah, that was more interesting than I mean, that got more of a reaction than the Odunze pick itself. Everybody was kind of shocked that Atlanta chose to, draft Michael Penix Jr., considering, they just gave Kirk Cousins 4 years, $180 with 120 guaranteed. It's like it didn't make a whole lot of sense. They had an opportunity to improve their team now, and instead they chose, take a quarterback that's probably going to sit for at least 3 years. So that was interesting. After that, the Bears taking Rome Odunze, that didn't get any reaction. Caleb Williams didn't get any reaction. There's very rarely anything that draws a reaction out of the media room at Hallis Hall. Everybody's kind of working, and nobody's really viewing it from a fan standpoint. It's the same way in the press box on Sundays. Everybody's just kind of doing their thing and not really emotionally invested in it in that way. So Caleb Williams got announced. We all knew that. Everybody was stoked. I put a video up on Twitter from that moment, and people were like, well, that's because everybody knew. And I'm sure Rome Odunze was different. He wasn't. It was the exact same. Nobody really reacted to it.
Yeah, so Kenan mentioned you were up there at Hallis Hall last night, and I got a chance to watch the whole press conference via the Bears YouTube page this morning. And, of course, Ryan Post was very excited, obviously. And he talked about one of the elements that made Caleb Williams so special in his mind. And for those who missed it, talk to us about what Ryan Post saw in Caleb Williams, which made him the number 1 selection last night.
Yeah, I think they've been pretty convinced that they would be going with Caleb Williams for quite some time. I think that they just wanted to do, all their due diligence on who he is, the type of teammate he is, the type of person that he is, and kind of get a sense for his ability to withstand a market like Chicago. It's different from LA. You talk about the Hollywood and all that stuff. But I think once they were convinced that he was about football, that he was going to put the work in, that he was able to deal with the pressures of being a quarterback in Chicago, I thought they were pretty comfortable taking him early on in the process. We saw when they called him and told him that they were going to be the pick, Ryan Post said, the NFL told us to wait 5 minutes before we actually turned the card in. And Caleb said, we've been waiting for 5 months, man. Let's go. Like, you know what I mean? So, I think pretty early on in the process, they were convinced that they were going to go that direction. They just wanted to do, all of their due diligence to make sure it was the right decision. And then you saw the Justin Fields trade. And, at that point, everybody pretty much knew what was coming.
You saw the wide receiver room. You got now with Odunze, you got Keenan Allen, DJ Moore. We were talking about it right before you came on, Herb. What do you think the ceiling is for the Bears? Because they're going to be. I know you've heard from various Bears fans. They're like Super Bowl and the division and all that stuff. Where do you see the Bears are at this point?
I don't like to put a ceiling on things or on people, but I will put a floor on it. They got to go to the playoffs. The minimum has to be them getting to the playoffs. I think they've got a lot of talent now. Obviously, there's always going to be some challenges when you talk about dealing with a rookie quarterback, and he's still going to have some growing pains, even for supposed generational talent. He's still going to have some growing pains, but he's got a lot of talent around him. He's not going to have to do it, on his own the way he sometimes thought he had to do it at USC and dating back to high school as well. So you talk about an assortment of talent and arsenal of weapons like DJ Moore and Cole Kmet, Keenan Allen, and now you got Rome Odunze in there as well. You got DeAndre Swift in the backfield. They got to figure out exactly what they want to do with that offensive line and then hope for some health, specifically for Tevin Jenkins and Nate Davis. If you can get 14, 15 stars out of those guys, I think you'll have a pretty strong offensive line as well. And so they should be able to move the ball up and down the field, put some points on the board. And that defense just needs to pick up where they left off last season. I know there's still a little bit left to be desired on that defensive line, but the back seven is outstanding. You got Montez Sweat, you got Andrew Billings. And so you got to figure out, how you can continue to develop Javon Dexter, Zach Pickens, and what's going to happen on the opposite end. You got, DeMarcus Walker and some other guys, but you can certainly add to, both sides of the line in terms of the trenches. But other than that, I think this team is positioned to really be competitive. They shouldn't really get blown out of any game because of the defense that they have. And again, the minimum expectation has to be the playoffs for this team right now.
The Bears have 2 picks remaining in this 2024 NFL draft, one in the 4th round and one in the 7th round. And is it safe for me to assume that the Bears will at least use their 4th round pick to select a defensive edge rusher?
You said at least the 4th round pick?
Yeah, the 4th round pick, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on what happens with the 3rd round pick. They also have some flexibility, and I asked Ryan Post about this in the press conference last night. They got 2 second-round picks next year, and that gives them at least an option to kind of see what may be available in terms of moving up the board. There were some pretty talented prospects that expect to go in the 1st round last night, and they did not. And so it may be tempting to go up and grab some guys like a Johnny Newton, the D tackle from Illinois, or some of these other guys that are still left on the board. And so they've got those 2 picks to kind of use as bargaining chips if they choose to move up and grab somebody that they didn't think would fall as far as they have. But then you just got to see what they do with the 3rd pick. I mean, obviously, I think they'll be addressing the trenches on both sides of the ball, offense and defense, and it just depends on which one goes first. Can they find some interior depth on the offensive line, and can they do the same on the defensive line or find that edge? So it just depends. I mean, you still got the center from Oregon. He's out there, and I just mentioned one of the D tackles that's available. So it just depends on whether or not they move up one, and then what they do with the 3rd. That'll pretty much dictate what happens with the 4th.
Talk to buddy Herb Power from the Bigs here on Second City Sports on Sports on Chicago, Lakeem McGee. Cindy Brown with you. Okay, Herb. All right, let's talk about the offseason for the Bears since we didn't get your thoughts on this. So what do you think about that trade with Fields with the Steelers? Did you think they would get a little bit more? Was it right where you expected?
I would have thought the market would have been a little bit higher for Justin. Obviously, that didn't materialize. And Ryan Post also talked about wanting to do, right by Justin in terms of putting him in the best scenario possible. And I think that, sending him to Pittsburgh, a strong organization with great leadership, great head coach, but also a quarterback situation that will allow him the opportunity to, one, compete, but, potentially take over long term. And so I thought that was probably the best landing spot possible for Justin Fields. And, the Bears are able to get, a conditional 6th in return. We'll see. I think it's a good spot for Justin. I think he'll continue to develop and ultimately be a very successful quarterback in this league. But the Bears just thought it was time to move on, and that Caleb Williams was a prospect they simply couldn't pass up.
And speaking of Justin Fields, of course, I was a Justin Fields guy. And up until that trade, you saw a lot of conversation among media pundits and fans. I be honest with you, Herb, I've never seen a Bears fan base so divided in my life. What did you think about that whole, I'm not going to say scenario, but that whole time period that Justin Fields got the standing ovation at the last home game? Of course, why he was getting that, Caleb Williams' stock was continuing to rise at USC. And what did you think about that whole just a period of time where Bears fans were so divided up into that trade?
Yeah, I just think that, Twitter is a toxic place. You know what I mean? and it's a childish place. It can be very immature. And when you have an environment like that, people are incapable, one, they can hear you, but they aren't listening, right? They can read, but they aren't comprehending. But they also seem very incapable of being pro one side of a debate without being anti the other side. And I think you can certainly do that. I was pro Justin. I was pro trade back. I was pro build around him. But never for 1 second was I anti Caleb Williams. And people just didn't have the ability to say, hey, I like Caleb, without also saying I hate Justin. It doesn't have to be that way, but people made it that way. And then that just creates an environment where it becomes very, very easy to, point fingers and blame other people and start these arguments and debates. It was just a childish, immature space for a couple months. I'm glad it's over.
Me
I think we
too.
all are. Yeah, I think we all are. They were all glad that it's over. Now that that defense, on the Bears side, I mean, I really feel like they actually have a shot, perhaps maybe being a top 10 defense. We'll see what they do. Adding that edge rusher. So, where do you think the Bears can be? Like, I know what's the floor? I'll say to you for the Bears defense this upcoming season.
I think the defense can be very, very good. They still, like I said, they still got a couple questions to answer, and maybe the answers for that 3-tech are already on the roster. We saw Javon Dexter really start to develop and come on strong at the end of the year once Montez got there and he got a little bit more experience. So hoping for another jump from him, and also that Zach Pickens continues to develop. So they may already have their answer for the interior right there. On the edge, DeMarcus Walker played better once Montez got there. He's just one of those multiplier type players that we hear about. It did the same thing for Justin Jones. He ultimately got him a nice contract leaving. And so I think this defense, the ceiling is I won't put a ceiling on them at all. They could be a top 5 defense. They have that kind of ability, and especially if the offense is able to put points on the board and put the opposing offense in a situation where they have to throw the ball around, and now you're able to pin your ears back. Now you're able to jump on some of these balls. They got a great secondary led by Jalen Johnson. They got a lot of good young talent around him. And so, you bring in a vet like Kevin Byard. I think that this is a situation where this defense could be really, really dominant. They got to stop the run first. That's going to start up front with Andrew Billings, those linebackers. If they can stop the run, put teams in those, third and long, obvious passing situations, you're going to allow Montez Sweat and the rest of those guys to get after the quarterback. That's going to create, pressure, and that's going to ultimately lead to turnovers. And so if they can turn the ball over, they can put some points on the board, give Caleb Williams some short field. So I'm really excited about what this defense can do.
And sticking with the defense, Herb, and sticking with that secondary, Tyreek Stevenson, the rookie defensive back, rather, from Miami. I thought he had a good year last year. He starting to improve, especially at the second half of the season. What do you expect from here in year number 2? Do you expect to a Pro Bowl appearance, or what do you expect from out of Mr. Stevenson coming up in 2024?
Yeah, I expect another big jump from him. I mean, he took a significant jump from the start of last season to the end of last season. I think his ability to take tough coaching, John Hoke was on his ass from day one. Every single thing that kid did, Coach Hoke was critiquing and correcting, from where he lined up to how he dressed, everything, right? And so he was just on him a lot. And sometimes it's tough for young kids to take that type of coaching, especially a young kid that's got a lot of confidence, a little bit arrogant. I mean, a little bit healthy confidence, right? We talk about being a corner, you got to have that healthy confidence. And Tyreek certainly does not lack it. So that can be sometimes a little tough to take some of that hard coaching, but he was able to take that coach from John Hoke. He was also willing and able to learn a lot from Jalen Johnson. Some of the plays that Jalen Johnson made early in the season, you talk about his pick against Minnesota where he was in that cover 2, kind of carried the first receiver inside and then sunk back under the second receiver and got that pick. Tyreek Stevenson had a very similar pick later in the season, and after the game in the locker room, I asked him about it, and he was like, man, that's all Jalen Johnson. It's like just watching the tape and studying with him and working with him on the field. And so he's shown an ability to, one, be humble, to be a great student of the game, and also the ability to take leadership. And so the huge jump that he took from week 1 to week 18 last year was very, very impressive. I think he's going to take an even bigger jump in year 2.
Let's talk about the rest of the first round of the draft, of course. So really, interesting picks. You got JJ McCarthy going to Minnesota, Xavier Worthy going to Kansas City via trade with Buffalo. Were there any picks where you're kind of like, oh, okay, and then there were some picks you're kind of like let you scratch your head, Herb?
Just the fact that no defensive players won the top 14 it was very, very telling of where the league is right now and the value that's placed on offense and as opposed to defense. And so there were a lot of talented, defensive players that were on the board sitting there for a very, very long time. And each time another pick came in, there was another offensive player. That surprised me. You get down to, third, fourth offensive tackle. You get down to fourth, fifth, sixth quarterback, fourth, fifth receiver, and nobody's like, hey, I would rather have the top edge rusher or the top, interior defensive lineman or the top corner. I'd rather have the fourth best receiver. And it was like, wow, that's really, really indicative of where the league is at right now. Outside of that, the only thing that really surprised me in terms of a pick in and of itself, again, was the Michael Penix thing. I think that, a lot of times you just don't know what these teams have in terms of on their board and what they think their ultimate needs are and what their long-term and short-term goals are for filling the holes on their roster. So I won't critique each individual pick like that, but that Michael Penix thing was surprising, and I guess we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out. I'm guessing they're hoping for an Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre type scenario, but it seemed to me that they could have done some other things to improve their roster in the short term.
Last moment too with our guy Herb Howard, the Chicago Bears reporter for It's the Bigs Media, right here on. He's hanging on with us here on Second City Sports on Chicago. Sid Lakina hanging on here with you. Last question for me, Herb. Of course, the Bears with these good vibes going on right now. A couple of days ago, they announced their plans they want to build a stadium on the lakefront south of Soldier Field along the museum campus. Of course, it's not been approved. Obviously, it has to go through the good folks, like the officials downstate. But they're asking the public to pay half for it, and then of course a loan from the NFL for part of it to pay for the other half. So, do you think that the Bears will eventually get this new stadium at that campus, or will we be going back to Arlington Heights?
I thought they did a great job of selling the vision. I thought they pulled out all the stops. I thought the renderings were great. They had everybody in the building. Mayor Johnson was in the building. Lots of other elected officials were in the building. That being said, I think ultimately Kevin Warren and his staff are just doing the best they can at their job. And I think right now his job is to, get the Bears the best deal that they can to build a stadium. Ultimately, I think that's going to be in Arlington Heights, right? They got 200 million reasons why they're going to be moving to the stadium to Arlington Heights. And so I think ultimately that's what it is. I think that the Bears organization just the ownership put him in a bad situation, put Kevin Warren in a bad situation to try and close out a deal where he had no leverage because you guys had already bought the land without coming to terms on the tax deal. And so he's been going around doing everything he can to kind of gain some leverage. And I think he's doing the very, very best that he can. I'm not saying he's being deceptive or anything like that. I just think that ultimately they're going to end up building a stadium in Arlington Heights. And what we're seeing right now is him, pursuing all other avenues. But I think ultimately that's more about gaining some leverage in these negotiations than it is about them actually building a stadium on the South Lot right now.
Interesting take there, Herb. Last question for me. Who is that one name that's available right now that could be the steal of the draft? Whether the Bears, whoever it takes, or whether it's the Bears or not.
Yeah, the two I think right now would be D tackle from Illinois, and that's Johnny Newton, Jazon Newton. I think he's going to be a really, really good player. He plays with great leverage. He's explosive. He's strong. He's able to anchor at the point of attack, and so I really like watching that kid play football. I think that could be a need for the Bears, but also the center from Oregon, Jackson Powers Johnson. Like I think that kid is ready to step in and be a day one starter at center. Kind of surprised that neither of them went off the board in the first round. And so if they continue to slide back, I wouldn't be surprised to see them both go in the first 5 picks of the second round. But if they slide back a little bit further than that, it may get really, really enticing for the Bears to kind of leverage one of those second round picks for next year and see if that's enough for them to move up and get one of those guys. I think they both fill positions of need, even if it's just depth on the defensive side, but a starter on the offensive side. So, those are the two guys that I'll have my eye on to see when they go. And if they continue to slip, will the Bears try to move up and acquire one of those prospects?
All right, this has been Herb Howard. He's the Chicago Bears reporter for It's the Bigs Media. Great job last night at the press conference, along with the other contingents of the Chicago media. Always do great work. Tell people who haven't followed you yet, where can they follow you on social media to catch all your great work on the Bears?
Absolutely. And again, thank y'all so much for having me. I truly appreciate it. You can follow me on Twitter at Herb Howard 411. You can follow my work for the Bigs Media at It's the Bigs. You can follow our YouTube page, the Bigs Media, catch up on some of our latest content there. So we got you covered on everything involving the Bears, as well as all the other pro teams, man. My colleagues do a great job covering their respective beats as well.
Yeah, we've had a lot of them on. You guys are doing great work over there. We fully support you guys. And rest up. I know you're going to have a busy next couple of days ahead of you. So thanks, Herb. We're definitely going to get you back on before the season starts.
No doubt. Looking forward to it. I'm headed up to Dallas right now for Caleb and Rome's introductory press conferences, and then we'll see what happens in round 2.
All right.
All right, much good success, my man. Keep up the great work. We'll have you on again before the season starts, okay?
Appreciate y'all. Thanks so much.
Stay safe.
All right, take care.
All right, of course, that was her Howard from the Bigs. Of course, you can catch the Bigs, at their social media and all over the place here on Second City Sports. Sid, we got our other girl, Christine Manika, on deck. We're going to take a really quick break. I know she's got some, I like her to explain the story that she shared earlier on social media and some other stuff too. Of course, the NFL draft and a whole lot more. Lakita McGee, City Brown, Second City Sports, Sports of Chicago. Our girl, Christine Manika, to wrap things up, coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to the Second City Sports on this fun Friday edition. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. This is our last regular show for today and for the week. So if you have any questions or comments for us, better make it look great. You can head to our Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. And you can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
All right, Sid. She's been waiting for like the last week to come join us. I know she's got a lot of thoughts on a lot of things. So let's get our girl from KXRB, Miss Christine, the Queen of Manika.
Yay!
Hi, how are you?
We're doing great. How about yourself?
What about you?
And better than the White Sox, probably.
So we should start real quick for people who haven't, who don't follow you on Twitter. So tell us what happened earlier today on your show.
I think everyone at the office has been waiting for this for all week. One of my coworkers, Dave Roberts, he does stuff with ESPN here in Sioux Falls. He had a broom right outside of the door as we were about to go on air, and he's like, "I thought you might need this. How about those twins?" And I'm like, "Good gosh, it's just." What are you going to do? I had no expectations on this season. They're on track to only win 20 games and 138 losses, I saw. So it is what it is at this point. You got to laugh at it, especially when someone actually brings you a broom like that. So I got a kick out of it. Laugh at my pain, right?
Yeah, it was pretty funny, but I would have told him, worry about Detroit and worry about Cleveland and throw that broom right back at him. No pun intended, though.
Yeah, right.
All right. Well, let's get to some of the good stuff here that we got. So what did you think about the draft last night? Of course, Caleb Williams and Odunze are our newest members of the Bears. They're going to be doing the presser coming up in about an hour and a half from now. So what did you think last night?
I think, pretty much for the most part, everything was predictable, minus the Falcons pick for Michael Penix. I'm very happy for Michael Penix that he got drafted so high because I think he's a great quarterback, and I think he's going to bring a lot of excitement to the Falcons. But it stinks for Kirk Cousins because they didn't see that trade coming, or they didn't see that pick coming, I should say. I was also really surprised that the Chargers, Jim Harbaugh, for his first pick in the NFL in a little bit, he went with a tackle. And the last time I saw a tackle go that high in the draft, it was back in 2014 by a guy named Greg Robinson, who was the second pick for the St. Louis Rams at the time. So I thought that was really interesting. And I think I went to bed at about after the 15th pick, the 16th pick. But yeah, like everyone's been saying, it's very surprising that it's a lot of offense on the board and not so many defensive guys that got picked up last night. And it just shows what Herb was saying earlier, that the NFL is a strong offensive focus right now. I thought it was really cool for the Bears. They hologrammed Caleb Williams into Chicago. I don't know how they did that, but I saw their Twitter and their Instagram that Jeff Joniak was hosting a watch party, and they were able to hologram Caleb Williams in there. And I would love to see how that works, because that looked pretty real to me.
Yeah, it's very scary, especially the times that we're living in with the technology and stuff like that. So yeah, that was very cool. I wanted to ask you, Christine, for those of you that are listening on our podcast and not watching us, Christine is wearing her beautiful orange bear shirt, and so I wanted to ask you. I'll ask you a prediction, but how are you feeling right now with the selection of Caleb Williams and Odunze? Do you feel good going into 2024, or are you cautious?
I'm excited and I'm cautious at the same time. I'm excited that the offensive side of things looks really strong and looks really good. We don't know how Caleb's skills are going to translate on the field and in the NFL in general. We don't know how well he's going to work with these guys yet, but from what I understand, he's been working with Keenan Allen a little bit prior to the draft. They met up with each other, did a couple of run-throughs and whatnot. And I know that he knows Rome pretty well, too, from previous interactions and whatnot. So that should be a really good combination going forward. We talked about this today. It's interesting how many weapons they have on the offensive side. And maybe we're thinking later on, particularly for Mooney, that he could be, or not Mooney, Moore, excuse me, that he could be a potential bargaining chip when it comes to trades or anything like that. So we don't like to say that about a guy like him, but it does give a little bit of of a leg up if you are interested in another player going forward.
Other than the Penix pick, were there any other picks that you saw that kind of like, that's interesting?
I love that JJ McCarthy's going to Minnesota. I love it that he's staying in the Midwest. I love it that he was staying back, not in his hometown of LaGrange Park, but definitely closer to his teammates and whatnot. Everybody being able to support him out in the Michigan area. So I thought that was really cool. I think he's going to do great things for the Vikings. It's a good quarterback to have Kevin O'Connell mold a little bit. And when and if they get Justin Jefferson to sign, I think that's going to be a really good combination too. So there's a lot of wiggle room, I think, in the Vikings organizations to work with. And it's something for Vikings fans to get excited about after last season too.
Yeah, indeed. We're hanging out with our girl, Miss Christine the Queen Manika from KXRB in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, right here on Second City Sports on Chicago City. Lakina with you. Christine, I asked her about the question about the Bears stadium situation. Of course, they came out with a rendering the other day. They had a press conference. Everybody from the city, Mary Johnson from the city of Chicago was there. Kevin Warren, the president of the Bears. And looking at the pictures, it was very nice, but that bill is pretty high. Half the taxpayers in Cook County is going to have to pay for it, right? The Bears will have to pay for the other half, and they'll have to borrow some money from the NFL to help out as well. Where do you see the Bears stadium situation after all this? Do you think they'll get that new stadium on the south of the museum campus in Chicago, or do you think they're going to Orange Eyes as we suspected all along?
One thing that I thought that was interesting about the design of the stadium itself is that they're keeping like parts of Soldier Field as part of this new vision, as part of this new campus, whatever you want to call it. I think it's interesting how they keep on, yes, it's going to bring opportunities for a Big Ten, Super Bowl, whatever the case may be. I think it's interesting that they keep on bringing up concerts being a driving factor. That's a moot point, in my opinion, just because you already have the big names going to Chicago and going to Soldier Field already. You just had Taylor Swift there for 2 nights. I've seen U2 there. The Stones were there a couple of years ago, and now they're going back to Soldier Field in the next couple of months in June. So I think that's kind of an irrelevant point to bring to the conversation about what the stadium is going to do for the city. But everything else I can totally envision happening. I'm not a Cook County resident anymore, so my tax dollars aren't going to be affected by the stadium, but I do think it looks really nice and the vision is there. And I think it is interesting too that I think they phrased the way of the field as the Bears as being tenants of the field, not the owners, but the tenants of it. So I don't know what that means, but it's interesting that that's how they worded it.
Yeah, it is weird how they kind of worded it that way, because I'm sure like the park, friends of the park are still going to own parts of that. So that's, yeah, going to be interesting to see what happens with that. So yeah, I'm a little.
Like I said, Lakina, if they stay in the city of Chicago, like I said, their tenants, they're not going to own it. If they move to Arlington Heights, they're going to own everything, because remember, they paid a whole lot for that for the Arlington track race to be torn down. They paid a lot for their land, so they go out there to Arlington Heights. They're gonna own all of it, from the parking to the restaurants, bars, souvenir shops, and things along that line. They're gonna own just about all of it in Arlington Heights. If they're not gonna own not even close to half of it in Chicago, that's a problem.
Yeah, and I don't know who knows. Oh, I'm sorry, Lakina. Who knows what their vision of Arlington Heights. Maybe they want to get out of Bourbonnais as their training camp. Maybe Arlington Heights is the future training camp for the Bears. I don't know. I know that Bourbonnais, there's a lot of history there when it comes to the Bears training facilities, but it's not unusual for them to change different training sites. I mean, unfortunately not my alma mater, but I went there for 3 years before it closed. St. Joe in Rensselaer, Indiana, way back in the day. That was the original home for the Bears training camp. So maybe they're kind of envisioning Arlington Heights as being that for them.
Well, yeah, it's sort of like, and I think Herb said it earlier. I mean, they the brass put Kevin Warren in a pretty tough spot. So, I know he lives in the city. He wants the Bears to be in the city. It's going to be a lot of red tape. So I think they will figure it out. But it'll be interesting to see if I'm sure. They're going to have to do a little bit of negotiating, maneuvering. So we'll see. You might be right, Christine. I mean, they can't just leave it there because they own that part of it. So they might as well just make another training complex there. So we're interested to see what happens there. Let's switch over to how about NBA playoffs for a second. So have you had a chance to watch some of it? What do you think? Do you think it's Denver and everybody else?
Seems like it. I mean, the Bulls, even without Jimmy Butler, it's a play-in, but still, even without Jimmy Butler, they still couldn't win. So I don't know. It seems like that's what it's going to be: Denver against anybody else to see who's really going to break them.
Give your husband Chris a hug for us. I wish he was here because the Lakers the last two games blowing that 20-point lead on Tuesday and losing at the buzzer like that. That was heartbreaking. Of course, last night they folded again in the fourth quarter. Now Denver has a commanding 3-0 series lead. So I'll move on. I'll get upset for your husband. But going back to the Bulls, Kristen, you mentioned that playing game. The last time you joined us, they didn't even play it yet. But, of course, they lose to the Miami Heat for the second year in a row for a chance to go to the playoffs. AK and GM Mark Eversley, not GM Mark Eversley, just Arturas Karnisovas in his presser last week said that there will be changes. Well, we've seen it already. Not with the head coach Billy Duffy. He states, but one of his assistants will not return to the team. What changes do you foresee coming for the Bulls this summer?
I think they're going to start pretty somewhat fresh with some new faces on the team, whether it be someone that they draft or someone in their farm system. I think we're going to see a lot of new faces there. I hope they can keep Kobe White because the last couple of games for the postseason, he was really explosive, 40-plus points, and he had a lot of energy. So I hope he's able to stay on the team. It's iffy about DeMar DeRozan to see if he's going to continue with the team or if he's going to be used as a bartering chip when it comes to trading and whatnot. So I think there's going to be similar to what we saw a couple of years ago to a whole bunch of new faces. That's going to be kind of what it's like here too, I think.
The Olympic basketball team. We're going to get a chance to talk about this, but the Olympic basketball team for the Paris Olympics coming up were announced among some of the big names. You got LeBron James, Steph, Anthony Davis, Joel Embiid, and Tyrese Halliburton, Anthony Edwards, and Kawhi. What do you guys think the chances are for the men to take home gold?
I think the chances are pretty good. It's a pretty stacked veteran team and players that have been in this before. I remember, gosh, my mom must love Kevin Durant because when the Olympics happened 4 years ago in the summer, we were watching the game and she's like, which one is Kevin Durant? I'm like, Mom, he's that one. And then she's like, that one? I'm like, no, Mom, you got to keep watching the screen. He's this number. So she's got something going on with Kevin Durant because when the team was announced, because the Olympics are less than 100 days away now, she said, is Kevin Durant playing? Yes, Mom, Kevin Durant is playing. So she's got something for him. She likes him.
I think, Lakina, this is going to be, not going to say almost guaranteed for the United States, but I think this is their last best shot to get the gold medal because you mentioned with Steph Curry and LeBron James and Anthony Davis, this will probably be their last Olympics because of age. But outside of Anthony Edwards and maybe John Moran of the Memphis Grizzlies, who's currently injured, remember, 4 years from now, the Olympics is going to be in the United States in Los Angeles. So you're not going to have those big guys anymore. We're talking about LeBrons and the Stephs and the Anthony Davises. You're going to have Anthony Edwards from Minnesota. He'll probably be on the team. Hopefully, John Moran, if he can stay his butt out of trouble. But outside of that, you're probably going to have to look for the new stars in the next 3 or 4 years. So pay attention to who's going to be drafted in this upcoming NBA draft this year, next year, probably the year after that, to find your future stars for USA basketball.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Grant Hill, of course, he now runs it. So we'll see how he plays around with some of the rosters. Like you said, kind of setting it up for these next few years with the FIBA, and of course now the Olympics coming up, and those 4 years from now.
Yep. You're listening to Second City Sports Zone Chicago. Sid, Lakina, and Christine, as her husband walks beautifully right to the shot. Hope we can get him on camera before we get him out of here. But
hey, Chris, they want you on camera. They want you. He's like, they want me. Yes, they do want you.
Oh, you gotta love like, hi, Chris.
Hey, Chris, if you can hear us, I don't know if you can hear us. Can
give me 1 second. He's gonna get a pod on. There we go.
Hey, Chris, can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, I just want to ask you a quick question. How do you feel about the Lakers trailing 3-0 to the Denver Nuggets for the second year in a row?
I believe my official stance is I am a fair weather Laker fan. Although this result does not surprise me, it's not an effort thing. I do believe it's a coaching thing slightly, but just Denver is just a better basketball team, and it showed it last year. And so the matchup is just a bad one for the Lakers. Although had they been matched with somebody in the first round, I think it would make them better. I think Denver is fantastic, and I think they're just going from strength to strength from last year. So they do not have a chance. I never really thought they had a chance in the series, and it's playing out that way.
Yeah, I just want to send my heart to you because what happened on Tuesday, them blowing a 20-point lead. And, of course, Jamal Murray ended that game with a game-winning shot in Game 2. So I just wanted to say that publicly between me and you.
It's on the record now.
Yeah, yes, it is. Yeah, we have had our time. In my lifetime, we had 5 of them, and it was all through Kobe and three through Jack as well. And so we were definitely spoiled for a long time. And then we had one in the bubble with LeBron. And even my hardcore Laker fans are kind of wishy-washy on that one in particular. But just because it was a different situation and no fans, and just the atmosphere was not quite there. But, LeBron's obviously amazing. AD is obviously amazing. It's just a skill issue, I think. I think just the supporting cast is not quite good enough compared to Denver and some of the other elite teams in the league.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, hopefully, I don't know. Maybe they can get one, I guess. So we'll see what happens. But now that I got you guys. Scottie Scheffler, of course, won the Masters a couple weeks ago. He actually, also won the RBC Heritage Open last weekend. So, and I know he's taking some time off. Of course, he and his wife are about to. I don't think they've had their baby yet. But what do you think, David? He's Scottie Scheffler. I mean, what more can you say about him?
Yeah, and he does it kind of with his old Texas shucks attitude. And it probably suits him pretty well. He's just playing better than everybody else. And again, like I said about the Lakers Nuggets series, it played out at Augusta, and it played out again. He's just on an incredible heater, and we've seen glimpses from other people since Tiger's dominance. Now it just has to be sustained because, you guys are old enough to turn on SportsCenter on Sunday nights, and Tiger was doing something unbelievable every week. And Stuart Scott, rest in peace, Scott Van Pelt and Dan Patrick, it was must-see TV on ESPN that Sunday night because you knew he was going to have some incredible highlight. And I don't think anybody will ever touch what Tiger does and the kind of impact he had. But good golly, is Scottie Scheffler good at golf?
What do you think, Christine?
What do I think? in our Masters pool that we had, we came in second place, so that's something. So we got the picks right. I was really excited for Colin Morikawa to get up on that leaderboard just because he's been struggling the last couple of years or so. So that was very nice to see him up there. Bryson DeChambeau was a welcomed surprise to see at the top of the leaderboard for pretty much the entire tournament up until the very end of it. And Chris was right on his rookie pick, the Ludwig. How do you say his last name?
Bird.
Oh, Bird. Yeah.
Bird, I think that's how you say it. Yeah, something like that.
That dude is robo golfer. He will soon be the second best player in the world. Soon. And we will be hearing his name for quite a few years. That guy is ridiculously good at golf.
All right, last moment or two with Christine and Chris right here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. This is Lakina hanging out here with you. Speaking of going back to pro sports, of course, Bulls and White Sox owner Jerry Reinsdorf announced that NBC Sports Chicago will no longer be the home of the Chicago White Sox, Blackhawks, and Bulls. They're moving over to the online digital network, which he partially owns. So that's Watch Stadium. I don't know if it's going to be available for linear cable, but as I mentioned, the Cubs, the Sox, and the Bulls will have new homes next year on Watch Stadium. Christine, I wanted to get your thoughts. Do you think that we've seen this before, especially with linear cable, with the subscription being down? Of course, we had this situation with Washington, D.C. They were on the Washington Capitals, the hockey team, and the Washington Wizards, the basketball team. They were on NBC Sports Chicago. Now is on Monumental Sports Network, owned by Ted Leonis, who owns the Capitals and the Wizards. But do you see Ryan Sturb starting a new regional sports network on linear cable in this streaming era now?
Well, gee, I remember when the stadium first started back in 2016, 2017, around that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So to see it kind of grow from where it was to what it is now, I think it's very impressive. And I think it is going to change how Chicago sports are run anyway. And it could be a new opportunity for Ryan Storff. Out of all of his years touching Chicago sports, he's never really done the channel outlet yet. So this is going to be a new challenge for him, I think.
It'll be interesting though, because like you said, so it's going to be interesting to decide if he goes with kind of like the television, wants to be kind of like a cable with a plus streaming, type thing, or is it going to be all streaming? He's going to have to figure out to get it to as many homes as possible, because do you perhaps maybe put it direct to consumer like some of the other professional sports teams are doing? So yeah, these are the tough spots. So I'm thinking about our buddies over at NBC Sports Chicago, because it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll get that extra few months, then they can kind of see if they maybe try to get it going. Perhaps may just turn into stadium. So we'll see.
Yeah, just a history note, Jerry Reinsdorf did jump the gun, no pun intended, when him and his group bought the White Sox in 1981. Remember, Lakina, they were on, Christy, you can ask your parents, they were on the old Channel 44, and there's some of their games were also on WGN back in the day. Of course, he flipped over to a pay-per-view channel, as we know as cable TV today. Remember Sports Vision, Lakina?
Yes, good time.
Of course, now NBC Sports Chicago, which the channel will go away in October.
Yeah, that's going to be tough. Now, I want you guys on this real quick. Another some more sports media news. John Oren, of course, longtime TV sports media columnist for SBGs now with the Puck Network. Now he says that ESPN reportedly, we talked about this earlier, guys, before we started recording, that of course the TV contest for the NBA. Looks like ESPN. It looks like they're going to keep the A package, but it looks like the B package is going to be between NBC and TNT, and there may be a third option for Amazon, perhaps maybe Peacock. So I think it looks like it's good. The NBA Finals is going to stay on linear TV, but it looks like, again, if Warner Bros. Doesn't match the offer, it looks like maybe NBC may get back into the NBA game. So what do you guys think?
Chris?
Anybody?
And that was a lot of information. No initial thoughts right away. No.
I wish, Lakina, NBC would get the package. Of course, some of the games will be on their streaming service, Peacock, and bring John Tesh's Round Ball One
Rock.
theme song back. Do 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 do. I like to hear that again.
Well, and if you remember, the CEO for Warner Bros. Discovery did say that, hey, I guess it came out a couple of years ago that we can go without the NBA. All right, you have to run and find out, as they say. So if you're Warner Bros. Discovery, you're a shareholder, especially if you're trying to launch a streaming service with all your sports, you're gonna need no shade to soccer and wrestling and baseball, but you're gonna need the NBA to help sell that streaming service. So if you don't have the NBA, I don't want to say your streaming service would be worthless, but
Yep. A moment of silence.
Sorry.
Like, you don't want to close the curtains on that. Last issue from me. Of course, now we're you guys watching us live here on Sports Zone Chicago. Roger Goodell, the NFL commissioner, your NFL commissioner, was on Pat McAfee's show earlier today. He talked about the NFL going to an 18-game schedule. His dream scenario is having the Super Bowl on President's Day weekend, which is a 3-day weekend. And, of course, we know this upcoming season, the NFL will play on Christmas Day. Christmas Day is on a Wednesday this year. You know, that's the day that the NBA owns, but not anymore. Now, Roger Goodell wants an 18-game schedule. It shouldn't come as a surprise for too many people. But I want to ask, starting with you, Chris, how long will you think that the NFL will have an 18-game schedule? His dream scenario, according to Goodell, 2 preseason games, which we have 3 now, but 2 preseason games, and of course the Super Bowl being on President's Day weekend, which will probably be at the end of February. How soon do you think that the NFL can pull this off?
Well, do you know off the top of your head when the next CBA negotiations are?
I think in the next 9 years, Lakina, at least 10 to 9.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
So it'd have to be ratified sometime before then, because I know they want to get the ball rolling on that. Obviously, when they changed over to 17, we all knew it was a stopgap just to get to 18. So I would say, gosh, it'll be the 24-25 season. I think by the 26-27 season, we're going to have an 18-game season. 18 games schedule. And obviously, I'm not smart enough to know the injury stats based on how many preseason games they play. Obviously, there's an issue with practices in the summer and trying to get people ready for game speed, and is 2 enough, but the revenue side of it is just so much more substantial with a regular season game compared to a preseason game that I know the owners are looking their jobs at that, and I suppose the players could be in a tough bind, because if you're saying that the new CBA isn't going to be really negotiated for another 8 or 9 years, then they could be missing out on potential extra revenue based on an 18-game schedule. So that really needs to get hammered out probably sooner rather than later, so the players get their fair share of it all, because they're busting their butts, they're killing themselves for us. So yeah, I do think in 2 years it's going to be done.
Christine?
What do you think, Christine?
Well, as you both probably know, for me anyway, there's no day offs in radio, so it's great for everybody else to get President's Day off and to enjoy the Super Bowl. But people like me in the media have to work the next day, so I think it will be a good idea. People have been pushing having that Monday off after Super Bowl anyway. Why not have it land on President's Day?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, we've been saying for the longest, right, guys, that the Super Bowl should be on President's Day anyway. That way, people won't complain about having to not you'll go to work the next day. So you might as well do it on a 3-day weekend when most people are off. So sure, why not? I mean, it's going to be a while, though. I think not to, like, I guess the next TV deal, I guess. I think that's probably what, that was kind of his last thing he does before he retires. So it'll be interesting, but I would be surprised if they pull this off. I mean, gets what he wants.
Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts or last minute thoughts, nuggets before we disperse?
Gosh.
All right, Lakina, take us home.
On that note, I got nothing either. So on that note, you follow my on the Twitter, X at QScore, and the IG. We're all crazy today.
You can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80. Christine, where can the lovely people follow you on social media?
They can follow me at @CManika_KXRB.
And you still have that beautiful bird?
Of course I do.
Where people can follow you, Chris?
Unfortunately, I got this one, so I updated it. So you can find me at all lowercase golfer Gilly, GOLFER GILLY. So yeah.
All right.
All right.
All right, cool.
Yeah, don't forget to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including that iHeartRadio app. Don't forget to download that Sports Zone Chicago app as well. And while you're ready, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
And don't forget to catch Second City Sports live in living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
All right, folks. And of course, you get also Sports Zone Chicago anytime, anywhere on Roku TV. So if you got the Roku TV app on whatever device you have, on the Play Store you got, just go there. Type in Sports Zone Chicago. You can catch our show, Sean and Maya, The Smoke Fellows, What's Up Cuz, and other great content. Hours and hours. It's free. It's easy. It's all right there for you.
And we will provide.
All right, folks. Enjoy the rest of the NFL draft in the next couple of days. Also, too, you got the playoffs in both the NBA and the Stanley Cup, baseball, and so much more. You got to love the time of year in the spring for us sports fans. So for Chris, Christine, and Sid, I'm Lakia. This has been Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, and we'll see you Monday.
Thank you, Herb Howard from the Bigs, for joining us earlier today. Till Monday, holla!